Welcome
to Nerdville.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. You must be cautious.
Hey One Piece fans, today we'll be covering chapter 1125 of One Piece. We'll be discussing everything that happened in the chapter, specifically and more importantly, what happened with Emu and Saturn, and also what happened at the end of the chapter with Dragon, who we believe might potentially go after the One Piece. If you want to learn more about that, stay till the end of the video. So let's get started.
thanks Fanfi for this great intro. So I think the first thing, like the first part of the chapter is Lucci and Kaku coming back and being asked by everybody where Stussy is, and Lucci reveals that she's been killed in action, or that's at least what he says. I think there's potentially a couple of outcomes of what could have happened to Stussy. The main one I think could be the one is that she just escaped. Like we saw Kaku basically let her escape, and he's just covering Kaku because that's his best friend. But what were you thinking when you saw that?
Yeah, in chapter 1119, we saw that, Kaku was going to let her go. He said, you just go, right? And he was really reluctant to do it because, it goes against the code of the CP agents, I guess, right? You don't let informants, live or whatever. But yeah, another potential, outcome to that would be that Kaku did in fact let her go, but he lied to Lucci and told her that she died, which, could explain why he's so, gloomy, right? Because he feels bad about lying to his friend, right? And he's, also lying to the Marines and to the CP agents, so...
He's probably remorseful for sure, because he also put Lucci in a bad spot if she actually left, right?
Yeah.
He could have just...
Yeah, I think the last option could, maybe it could be that scene happened exactly like we saw, but we're missing the end of it, where Lucci arrives behind Stussy and kills her. And now Kaku's, unhappy because he killed the person that saved him, right? And yeah, after that, we get Saturn talking to the Vice Admirals, and he basically gives them a rundown of what happened and what the big problems were. And that the problem wasn't that, the Straw Hats got away, it was that this big speech happened, and that they let it happen for so long, and they couldn't, interfere earlier. And we also get the reveal that Saturn was the one that basically not protected Emeth, but made sure that he wasn't scrapped so that they could study it, because he thought it would be a necessary, technology to use in the future. Which is interesting because also this whole arc was about, Saturn's horrible treatment of, Bonnie and her father and everything like that. And everything's coming full circle for him, because everything that went wrong is his fault in the end. Because not only did he, let all this thing with Vegapunk happen when he should have probably killed him earlier, but the whole reason they escaped the Straw Hats is because, Emeth wasn't scrapped. So
that's crazy.
Pretty sarcastic.
The decision he made.
Ironic.
I mean, it's ironic. Also, it's crazy that he made that mistake 200 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it shows you. It's like, he didn't think about it at the time. And he's very similar to Vegapunk in a way. Vegapunk didn't want to scrap it either. That's why he hid it.
Yeah.
But they could never anticipate the fact that the only way for it to be alive is through Joy Boy. Which is interesting, because that might mean that there's maybe a semblance of Joy Boy somehow 200 years ago.
No, I think that maybe Emeth thought it was the time, right? He said, you'll know when the time is right, and we don't really know what happened 200 years ago, why Emeth went on a rampage. It's interesting, but I don't think there was another user of the Gomu Gomu no Mi 200 years ago. Possible.
I mean, not surprising, but kind of crazy is when also the Vice Admiral, one of the Vice Admiral starts asking questions, just executes him on the spot.
Yeah, and that's big implications for what's going to happen later in One Piece with the Marines, right? It's a message to them to again, not ask questions like you said, but also, them becoming more and more disillusioned with taking orders from the Celestial Dragons, and them not having the best interest in, the people and even their own people, right? Like disregarding them, their insects. And he's the one that Saturn said to, we don't concern ourselves with insects or something like that. He said something of the sort to him. So pretty interesting that he's the one who dies, right? Again, this whole thing with the Marines, I think that probably while Egghead is happening, like we got in Egghead with, what was happening with Garp and Kobe and all that. We'll get more stuff on the Marines, more stuff on Sword, right? Because we got, Kobe becoming much stronger, much more becoming probably a new leader in the Marines, right? As Garp is leaving everything to him. So we'll probably get a follow-up to that, right, during Elbaf, and have, the Marines starting to make their plans against...
Separate. Yeah, maybe separate. You'll have
themselves,
two branches.
Yeah. And they'll probably, and this leads more into, the end of the chapter, but potentially join up with the Revolutionaries. Team up.
I think an alliance.
An alliance, yeah.
Like they don't see it the same way, but they have the similar goal.
Because at this point, the sword people, their problem is with the Celestial Dragons and how they want more freedom and less restrictions, but I think it's mostly about that, right? They have a different mindset than those people who are taking orders from the Celestial Dragons, like these Vice Admirals here.
For sure.
And then funny part of the chapter, you can take it if you want.
Google
Punk.
You mentioned Google Punk.
Yeah.
Google Punk, yeah. Well, basically, for everybody, it's like there's a couple panels that show that basically Vegapunk's brain escapes. Protagoras gets out through the cloud machine. They basically say that nobody's going to be able to use it for 500 years, but it's also suggesting that he wanted to share his brain with the world. He said that before. So it's kind of a reference to the internet in a way, where he wants to become the internet, which is why me and Fanfi thought about Google Punk when we saw it.
Yeah, because that's what he wants. He wants everyone to be able to have access to his brain and figure out whatever they need for their current predicaments through his brain. So basically he's a Google Punk search away.
And that on top of it, that kills Saturn, because that was one of the things he said. We got the Punk records, and no, they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
They're gone.
Well, actually, they do mention that York still has access to Punk records.
And that leads into also a little bit on the Celestial Dragons after that, where we just see them complaining about not getting what they want. Basically, it's just a lack of. Some of the items on the food menus are not there, even though they have still plenty of food, and start saying that they're starving.
This is unheard of.
Famine. It's unheard of. It's just, and that continues, exacerbating the thing that you're going to have a conflict between them and the world, because they're going to want to, steal even more resources since, they're starving, man.
Yeah, adds to the whole thing with the Marines, right? With them being more and more dissolute, because if they start stealing more from the people, right? Taking more when this global catastrophe is going to happen, and they're the only ones that are safe from it, it just reinforces that, right? And this guy saying this is unheard of, shooting his chef dead. I mean, what the hell?
That's crazy.
Celestial Dragons, man. And I mean, that leads into at least the biggest part of the chapter for us, right? Not necessarily for the video, but for us, because this importance given to Garling and him being, the next one to supplant Saturn in his position, for us makes a lot of sense, because we were speculating on Garling's importance in our theory on the Seven Princes of Hell, the one we redid it for him. And one of the entire reasons we redid that video was because of the information we got from God Valley about Garling, that he was, the one leading the troops, the Marines and stuff, when Roger and company came to God Valley, right? So it really showed how much he was, almost in control of the military, right? If he wanted to. The leader of the God Knights can do that. So him being appointed as the next, god of defense and science just makes sense, right? And it shows also that he got information from Emu before even the gorosei did. So that means they're you forget yourself, tread lightly, you know what I mean? But no, you forget yourself, man. I'm the leader of the God Knights. Maybe, and like we said, maybe they're the ones that protect Emu. So of course you would get this information first, you know what I mean? And we were saying also the potential of him being Emu's right-hand man, right?
Oh, for sure. No, I mean, the whole reveal, and it's also, you see the disdain and surprise by all of them. They're not happy about this happening.
Yeah.
And that also leads, when I saw this, the first thing I thought was, oh, so Saturn's about to die.
Yeah.
Because he got replaced, right? And that's exactly what happens, where he dies in such a, not surprising based on what we think,
horrifying.
But it's it's horrifying, yeah. He's kind of getting the life sucked out of him. There's just black flames or fumes coming out of him, and then he just crumbles and becomes a skeleton.
Yeah, he lost his immortality, right? So he's becoming what he should be, a decomposed corpse. That's what a human past 800 years should be, right?
And clearly it's something that Emu is doing, and that leads me to ask you that question. Do you think the gorosei actually have devil fruits, or is it more they've been bestowed a power
Yeah.
by Emu.
Yeah, that seems more and more likely, especially, you know, since what we discussed in our again, the Emu theory video and the Seven Princes of Hell. We'll link that video in the description at the end of the video, up on the right corner if you want. If you want to go watch it, just so you understand what we're talking about. It does seem likely that they don't have devil fruits, and it gives credence to what we were talking about, you know, after the chapter with the gorosei devil fruit reveals, which weren't really revealed because we didn't get an information box with what the devil fruit's name was and all that. And that was also that whole moment where Warcury was just diving at the ship, completely disregarding the ocean. And I know that the ocean isn't necessarily that huge of a weakness for devil fruits, because they still manage to live when they're submerged in water and all that. But still, right? So it made us think that you know, they might not be devil fruits, and this gives credence to it. And we would also discuss comparing, you know, the gorosei to the homunculi in Full Metal Alchemist, and in Full Metal Alchemist as well. The leader, right, the emu of that, the homunculus in a flask, right? I don't know, remember if that's his name. But he basically,
I think so.
Yeah, he takes away the power of greed from, you know, and recreates him through Lin or whatever his name is. So there is also that, and the comparison again with Garling and the Fuhrer, right? Like, and Bradley, again, the leader of the military, him being the only one that's not immortal, the strongest one among them. It fits this whole, you know, comparison we're making with Garling. And could be very likely that, you know, they don't have devil fruits, as you suggest. And also it explains again the importance of Shanks, you know, because someone of the Figureland blood has to be alive potentially to be able to replace one of the gorosei, right?
That might be the rule. Or it's just like because he became an elder, now they need a new person. That could be an interesting twist, maybe.
They need a new leader of the Godlike, perhaps, yeah. And then Shanks gets called in.
Yeah, that'd be strange. That'd be so strange. But there's one more thing we need to talk about, though, is at the end of this chapter, like, we see all the revolutionaries talking about, you know, what is about to happen. And that comes to the idea, like, I know the first thing I thought when I read it is, so there's a whole panel that just says, not only that, but the one who claims the One Piece will not only be crowned Pirate King, but they'll likely get to wield a devastating power themselves. And they're basically suggesting that the One Piece is a weapon somehow. And Bello Betty says we can't let that happen. And the moment she says that, all I'm thinking is based on what also, you know, Dragon says at the end, which is they need to hurry up to achieve victory for their cause. I think the hurrying up part is that they're gonna go for the One Piece themselves because they can't allow anybody else to have access to it.
Yeah, if they think that it's a weapon of mass destruction, it makes sense. But yeah, like it's possible, yeah, that they're you know, this is a moment like with the moment we got with Shanks, where Shanks said, you know, to Beckman, like, we're gonna go after the One Piece now, like that type of thing where everything is coalescing into one, you know, big climactic, you know, event for the One Piece. That's definitely possible.
For me, it makes perfect sense because there's no other way it can play out in a way. Like, they're basically, like, I think Oda is setting it up, and to be fair, it's always been set up that way, that it would be a race to the One Piece, right? So it would make sense that you're gonna have the craziest, like, end kind of fight ever. Because you could have like the Marines, the swords, the revolutionaries, like any of the major pirates there, plus the gorosei in a way. Like it could be just one crazy battlefield, right? With all the major players over time.
Yeah, especially if Oda wants to end it sooner rather than later, right? If he said like 5 years, right? Like, seems unlikely given the fact that Wano was 4, right? But if he is pushing towards that direction of concluding things rather, you know, more suddenly, with having maybe less interactions outside of the arcs like we got in Elbaf, you know, in Egghead, right? Where in Egghead we got a lot of stuff from what was happening around you, right? Like events, conflicts happening between people that weren't around Egghead, right? If it progresses in that direction, maybe we'll in those parts, right, during Elbaf and the other arcs where the Straw Hats will be on those islands, we'll get, you know, those big players starting to make their moves, and, you know, getting that, you know, build up to the next big, you know, war, like we got with Marineford, right? Like Marineford started getting teased in Drum Island with, I don't remember if it was Ace looking for Blackbeard or Blackbeard looking for Ace. I think it was the other way around, and we got that in Alabasta, right? So we could get those those lead ups, you know, and have more. We got a lot of moments from outside of Egghead, like, and they lasted longer than just snippets of information like we got in Wano, right? So I'm expecting more stuff like that as well, leading into potentially what you discussed, right? That everyone is going to be coalescing for the One Piece.
Well, it's that, or we're gonna get those major, you know, confrontations with some outcomes. I don't even know. Like, for me, it's like there's like a clash that's coming up for Shanks and Blackbeard potentially.
Oh yeah,
and it could go. I mean, for the story's sake, I think, and how it's been presented, I think Blackbeard will win. But it's like Shanks has been put such on a high pedestal. It's like it's hard to think like he would be defeated.
Yeah, especially with what, you know, Dory and Broggy said in the previous chapters about, you know, Shanks, and implying that, you know, he might be the strongest person they've personally seen, you know, in their lives, in their long lives. So.
And Blackbeard is impressive, but like let's not forget that Law recently was like kind of going to like he was holding his own.
So yeah, against him and his crew, you know, like.
Yeah, exactly, right, with no backup realistically, like
except Beppo at the last minute.
Exactly. Clutch Beppo. Beppo's the best.
Clutch Po.
Clutch Po.
Let us know if you guys think that, if you agree with the direction we think that, you know, the Revolutionaries are going, whether they're going to go for the One Piece or try to at least impede those who are, right, like Blackbeard's crew, potentially maybe, you know, Kuzan being an informant for the Revolution is very possible as well. Let us know in the comments, and we'll have a video on Shanks coming out soon, and potentially, you know, his future confrontation with Luffy in Elbaf. We think that's going to happen very soon. Shanks versus Luffy. Watch out for that video, and yeah.
See you next time.
Peace out.